What was marijuana like in the 1970s? I started smoking in either late 1972 or early 1973. Most of what I saw back then was local ditchweed, homegrown, grown from either ditchweed seeds, or seeds taken from birdseed that contained hempseed. The government got wise to that trick and soon mandated replacing those with millet, milo, or other seeds to thwart all those pot-smoking hippies. Another option in those days was Mexican brickweed of varying quality. The typical price for any of the above was around $10 an Oz, $35 a 1/4 of a pound, or $95 a lb. Lots of people grew seeds from this as well. A big step up from ditchweed seeds or birdseed, but still not all that great. All this began to change when we moved to Oregon in 1974. My family originally comes from JOK. My dad moved us out to the West Coast just after I turned 12. Anyway, the big change in weed came for me the following summer of 1975. It was the summer after 7th grade and I was now 13 years old. I had saved money from my paper route and from strawberry picking the previous summer to buy an ounce of Acapulco Gold for $40 that had only recently begun to show up in Northwest Oregon. It was the hottest strain around back then. I bought it mostly for the seeds but also to smoke. Another very good strain around at the time was a purple variety coming out of Portland. The story behind this purple weed was a soldier had come back from Vietnam and had brought back seeds he had gotten from some montagnards while in country. He loved it, and as a native Oregon boy he promptly began to grow and sell it. As a result, this strain ultimately became the granddaddy of almost all of today's purple strains. Get back to the original story. I wanted to grow weed because not long before we moved to Oregon I had traded my Tote Goat mini bike for a kilo of Mexican brickweed. After we moved to Oregon in 1974 I discovered and explored the huge forests our property backed up to that nobody ever really went in and knew I was in business. I seeded out every seed I could find in that previously mentioned ounce of Acapulco Gold. I also bought as much fertilizer I could afford and could imagine myself schlepping into the woods. I had scouted out a good location roughly 1.5 miles into the forest earlier in the spring and had cleared roughly 1/8 of an acre of alder trees for a garden later that summer. The land was owned by the Crown Zellerbach Paper Company and had been logged off in the 1930s. By the mid-70s this logged-off land had regrown into thick forest that covered hundreds of square miles, so I was fairly sure I wouldn't be discovered that far out. All I can say is I was the oldest of what at the time was 8 kids, ultimately 12, and my family was severely dysfunctional, so there is a very good possibility they didn't even notice I wasn't around. This kept me in cigarettes, beer, school clothes, high as a kite, and very popular with all of the stoners in town for the next school year until I could grow again.